Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, so we're going to deviate from my normal book tube videos, and we're going to talk about records today. But first, let me get my normal update for my reading out of the way. So, it's a Shel Scott novel by Richard Prather. It's called Gat Heat. Almost done with it. Just got a couple more pages to read of this. This will be my second book finished for Garb August. I did finish volume 1 of Lost Girls by Alan Moore. So when we finish all three issues, all three volumes, then I'll do a review of these. Pure fun. Still reading Thirsty Mermaids. I have one part left. I owe you a video on this, but we'll be getting that taken care of this week. So hold on, you'll get it. And of course, my Super Size Me summer reading challenge, Neil Stephenson, Anathem. No, haven't read anything on it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this challenge. Just can't get into it. I don't know why. I don't know. So, and then we'll be doing Everything's Eventual by Stephen King for my Shorty King project. So I'm going to try to keep this video short, but you know me, I'll just start talking. So what I did was I just got back from a small little trip that I made with my girlfriend and I. Friday night after work, we jumped in the car, drove about 3 hours north to Jacksonville, got a hotel room for the weekend. And Saturday morning, I got up real early and went to the Jacksonville Record CD Festival. This is my first festival. I did go to Record Store Day back in April. That was my first Record Store Day. But this is my first record festival that I've ever been to. And it was in Jacksonville. Had a great time. Just got back. So this video may be posted a little bit later on Monday than what I normally do. But I just wanted to do a record haul. I want to show you how much fun and what all I got from Jacksonville Record and CD Festival. Now, my plan when I went there was I'm still trying to build back up records that I used to have in my library before I had a flood. I had all my records in a basement rec room, and it got flooded. And it damaged a lot of my records. This was years ago, so I did get rid of them. Pretty much since then, I've just been buying CDs. But in the last year or so, I've really been working on reestablishing my record library, and this went a long ways. My goal was to not spend over $20 for a record, and so I wasn't going for any grails or anything really great or new or fresh or hard to find. I was just trying to replenish the records I used to have, and for sentimental reasons or whatever. So you're going to see they're all over the place, but I'm going to try to keep it short. Let's just get started. What I did was I put them in two piles. I got 28 records. The first pile are records that I just wanted to replenish my old library, and then there's like 8 records that are will be new to my library. Not necessarily new in age, but new to my library. So the first pile, I'm going to start, and it's not in really any order except I decided to do it in age. So oldest released records first to the newest released records in that pile, and then the same thing with the new ones. So let's start real quick. First one out of the gate, Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. Everybody knows this. Really cool prog rock album. Again, I had it in my library for a long time and it got ruined, so now I'm finally putting it back in my library. Tubular Bells was actually released in 1973, and I finally got it back. So cool. Now, a lot of these, there was some ring wear on that cover. The covers aren't the greatest, but all of the records except maybe 2 are really in great shape. I haven't played any of them, but I looked at them closely and they all look to be in great shape. No real horrible scratches or anything like that. So I'm very excited to play these again. Haven't listened to some of them in years. Next, to be in line, Genesis, Selling England by the Pound. Yep, I had to get this back in. One of my favorite Genesis records. I really like the older Genesis, not so much the newer Genesis led by Phil Collins. Phil Collins was in the band for this record, of course, playing drums, but Peter Gabriel was really, I mean, for me, one of my favorite artists. Genesis, Selling England by the Pound, was their 5th release of 15 studio releases. This was a 1973 release. Next, love this record, another prog rock. Starting right off with some prog here. Yeah, you gotta love this. ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This, of course, is Brain Salad Surgery. Wonderful, like Geiger cover. Here's the back. Finally getting this back in my library. This originally was released in 1973. And so this is like the 5th of 10 studio release albums by ELP. Next, had this, man, I got this album, I'm thinking back in junior high school I got this album and I got to see them. This was released in 1975. Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. Of course, this is, you know, one of their most well-known ones because this has Love Hurts on it. I love this album. Hair of the Dog is a great song. Really, really cool rock. I mean, this is the 6th studio album out of 25, but they just released a new one. I haven't even listened to it yet, but Nazareth, this is one of my favorites. Hair of the Dog. Next up, we have Heart, Dreamboat Annie. Yeah, this is one of the ones that got ruined that I really was mad about because if you ask me, maybe my top 10 albums of all time, not my top 10 favorite groups or anything like that, but my top 10 favorite complete albums, I think Dreamboat Annie would be on that list. There's no skippable songs on this. I mean, you've got Dreamboat Annie, of course, Magic Man, Crazy on You. Oh my gosh, what a great Sing Child, how deep it goes. This, I think Ann Wilson, where is she, is one of the all-time great rock and roll singers in the history of rock and roll. And I really love this album. So this album is actually their first of 16. And I've heard that they're back in the studio getting ready to do another album. I can't wait. Love Heart, Dreamboat Annie. Next. So I saw this one sitting there, Foreigner, Double Vision, right? I've got several Foreigner records. I have this on CD, another record that I lost. This record was released in 1978, and it's their second of 9 studio records that they released. I love Foreigner. I'm not going to put them in my favorite bands of all time, but I had to get this one back into my collection, and I found this in the dollar bin. I was going through a dollar bin and all the records were in really rough shape, and then I saw this one in there and the cover is almost perfect, a little ring wear, and the record inside looks pristine. Maybe it's warped, who knows, but had to get this back in my collection. Foreigner, Double Vision. Yeah, 1978. Oh, we're still in the 70s. Next one. This is one of my favorite albums. Blue Oyster Cult, Some Enchanted Evening. Check out this cover. This cover is sweet. Come on, people. It's got some ring wear on it. Got to tell you a short story about Blue Oyster Cult. This record was released in 19 1978, and it was their second live album that they released. And of course, it's got the great ones on it. It's got Kick Out the Jams. It's got Godzilla. We Got to Get Out of This Place. I mean, are you kidding me? This is a great record. Tell you about Blue Oyster Cult. So this was released in 1978, and the drummer Albert Bouchard and the bassist Joe Bouchard are original founders of this band. They were actually born in Watertown, New York. That's where I was born and raised. I had the pleasure of actually, whenever they come through upstate New York, they always stop in and they'll play locally. They were born in Watertown. They grew up in Clayton, right down the road. I used to play hockey there. Sometimes they would be just rehearsing in the garage in Clayton, and you could just listen to them. But whenever they come through the North Country, they would play, and my band actually got the chance to open for them twice. So I was actually able to play with these guys twice. Blue Oyster Cult, great band. Love this album. Had to get it back into my library. All right, keep it moving. Loverboy. Yeah, so this was their first of 9 studio albums. It's Loverboy, Loverboy, and it was released in 1980. So finally out of the 70s. 1980, Canadian band from Calgary. This is great. It's got The Kid Is Hot Tonight. I mean, come on. Turn Me Loose, Always on My Mind, Little Girl. Just a great record. Had to get it back into my collection. Loverboy, Loverboy. Next. All right, don't laugh at me about this one. So, I actually graduated high school in 1983. This album was released in 1983. It was a favorite of my girlfriend's at the time, and I ended up using it a lot when I used to DJ. And it's Divinyls. Desperate. I don't know. Again, another soft spot in my heart. A lot of these records are just, the soundtrack of my life. Different things that were happening at different periods in my life. This is really cool. The cover's not great. It's got some ring wear on it, but it actually is a gold stamped promo. So, Desperate by Divinyls, really cool album. This was originally released in 1983. Like I said, the year I graduated. Second of 6 albums for the Divinyls. Had to get that. When I saw that, I had to grab it. It looks pristine. Cover's not great, but album looked great. Another one, of course, like I said, soundtrack of my life, 1983, Culture Club. Yeah, Color by Numbers. Boy George. I'm a fan of Boy George. I am. I mean, I love my metal and my punk and my heavy alternative, but I don't know, something about Boy George, just the way he dressed, the way he acted. You got to give it to him. The guy's got balls. Karma Chameleon, of course, It's a Miracle. Black Money, Miss Me Blind, Mr. Man, great album, released in 1983. This is the second of 6 studio albums by Culture Club. Had to get it back and it's in great shape. Oh, I love this band. Another one, 1983. Yep, the year I graduated. A lot of good music. Asia. This is Alpha. This is their second release. So that's second of 13 studio albums. Everybody knows who Asia is, I'm sure, but just to remind you, really, really kick-ass band. Members from King Crimson, Yes, the Buggles, and ELP. Kind of got a theme going here with Yes and ELP and Asia. But yeah, Alpha's a great record. Don't Cry, Never in a Million Years, The Heat Goes On. I mean, Midnight Sun. I love this album. Second one by Asia, Alpha. Again, the cover's not in great shape. It's bent, but the record looks pristine. So, doing pretty good. And again, trying to keep all my records under $20. so far, all of these were under $20. Next, you know what I'm going to say, right? Another 1983 release. This was the 11th album, though, of 23 studio albums, and they just had a new one. Yes, 90125. 1983, I love this. Owner of Lonely Heart, of course. Hold On, Changes, Our Songs, Hearts. I mean, every song, another record that I don't think has a skippable song on it. Released 1983. Can't beat it. I love it. I know a lot of Yes fans, this isn't their favorite Yes record, but 1983 was one of my favorite records. Keep going. Keep moving, Tad. Keep moving. We finally moved on past 1983, but just a little. 1984. Yep. Van Halen, 1984. Look at the guys. Just another freaking awesome record. I even like the cover. A lot of people didn't like the cover. I like this cover. Again, of course, it's titled 1984. It was released in 1984. Imagine that. It's the 6th of 12 studio records released by Van Halen. This is the last one of the first 6, right? So the first 6 records, of course, with David Lee Roth singing, and then Sammy Hagar started singing next on 5150, which is the next album after this one. And then David did come back and sing on their last album that they recorded as a band. So Van Halen had to add it to my list. One of my all-time favorite bands. If they would be on my list of one of my all-time favorite bands, which I did make a video for my top 20 all-time favorite bands. Check it out. There's 2 videos. All right, moving on. In 1984, I went in the military, and I went to the Air Force. And my first base was, after basic training, was Minot, North Dakota. And I just started buying records. Now I had my own disposable income, and I started buying records. This one, I've got a string of records here. Check this out. So, Giuffria. I love this record. This is a Greg Giuffria. So Greg was originally with the band Angel. He left them and started this one. So this was released in 1984, and they ended up only doing 2 studio albums. I love it. Guitar driven record. Do Me Right. It starts right off. Dance, Lonely in Love. I love it. Not the greatest record of all time, not the greatest band of all time. But again, soundtrack of my life. 1984, newly in the military, out on my own, my own job, everything. Getting ready, I was engaged to be married. Giuffria, I had to replace that. This next one, same thing. 1985. Yeah. Power Station. What another great super band. I mean, you might want to call it. So you've got, this came out in 1985. Again, just like Giuffria, only 2 studio albums ever done by the Power Station. If you're not familiar with the Power Station, you'll know the singer, Robert Palmer. Their drummer was from Chic, Tony Thompson. And of course, you've got John Taylor and Andy Taylor from Duran Duran. Here they are on the back, the boys. Really good record. I mean, Some Like It Hot, of course. Lonely Tonight. Everything. Bang a Gong. I love this record. I had to get it. Only 2. I'll have to probably get the other one too. But I had to get this back into my library. And the last, these 3 always have been similar to me because of when I got them, how I got them in the military, and their kind of stature. And that's The Firm. I was so glad to find this, and this is really good. The cover is sweet, a little ring wear around it, a little bit, but the record is clean as hell. Great songs: Closer, Someone in Love, Radioactive, great song. Money Can't Buy. Awesome record. Another one released in 1985. Another one where they only did 2 studio albums. And another super group, right? So you've got, who's in The Firm here? Chris Slade was on drums. You probably know that name from AC/DC. Played drums on several AC/DC albums. Tony Franklin on bass. That dude's played with everybody. Let me see here. I even wrote it down. David Gilmour, Kate Bush, White Snake, Lou Gramm, and most recently Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Great bass player. Also, you've got Paul Rodgers, of course, is the lead singer from, of course, Bad Company, and did do, I think, a couple albums with Queen after Freddie Mercury passed away. And then, of course, you can't go wrong, Jimmy Page playing guitar. If you haven't heard of The Firm and you like Led Zeppelin, you love Jimmy Page, Paul Rodgers, great band, great album, The Firm. Only did 2 albums. All right, we're moving along. Next one. Another 1985 release. And this was the 5th of 9 studio albums. And it's Eurythmics, Be Yourself Tonight. I love Annie Lennox. Amazing, again, vocalist. Another, record of my life. Listening to Would You Lie to Me, just over and over and over. Yeah, I Love You Like a Ball and Chain. This is a great album. Eurythmics is a great band. 1985, 5th of 9 studio released albums. Had to get it back in my library. Great shape. Yeah. Say it with me. 1985. Another 1985 release. Prince and the Revolution. Around the World in a Day. Another great album. Around the World in a Day. Paisley Park. Raspberry Beret. The Ladder. America. I mean, just a great record. In great shape. This was the second studio release where it was Prince and the Revolution. So, had to put this back into my library. One of my favorites. This was a 7th studio release of, 39 studio releases for Prince now. And I guess there's hundreds of songs in his vault that they're slowly going to release on other records as years. Some say up to 300 unreleased records or songs. So who knows what's going to happen with Prince. But had to get that one back into my library. We're almost done with that first stack. We're going a little bit ahead of 1985 finally. This is 1987 release, and this is the 4th of 9 studio albums. Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. I got this for $1. The cover is in really bad shape. There were others there that had better covers, but not better vinyl. This vinyl is clean. Clean as hell. Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. Not one of my favorite bands. Will never be one of my favorite bands. This is the only album I ever owned from them. Again, story of my life, these songs, this album. This will probably be the only Motley Crue album I ever own, unless I get some in a box or buy a box and there's some in it. Not my favorite band, but I love this album and finally had to add it back into my library. This is the last one of the pile of records that I got to replenish my library. This is this is one of my favorites. I couldn't believe I found this. I went there and I said, my girlfriend said, you know, what are you looking for? I said, if I could find this one album, it'll make my whole trip. And I found it. I only saw one there, and it is super clean, and it's Happy by PIL. Yeah, Public Image Limited. I'm a huge fan of PIL. This record was released in 1987, and it's the 6th of 11 studio release albums. Yeah, 11. They just, well, I actually pre-ordered it. I think it's being released September 8th or September 9th. And it's called New End of World. I can't even say it. It's coming out in a couple days. So I can't wait for that. I pre-ordered it. But this was my first introduction into PIL. Of course, I love Nevermind the Bullocks and the Sex Pistols. Great album. And I love Johnny Rotten. But, and he's crazy. You can say what you want about him. He is what he is. But this one was the first album that I had that got me to fall in love with PIL and the craziness that's PIL. This is Happy. And of course, it's got Seattle on it. Seattle was the song that just did it for me. And I found this, and it is super clean. Even with this white cover, it's hard to find these so clean and in such great shape. You know, I mean, this was released in 1987. So I was just thrilled, over the hill, excited to get this. I can't wait to spin it. The record looks great. The vinyl is immaculate. All right, so that's my first stack of records that I used to have, and now I have them again. So let's go. We've got the last 8 records. I'm sorry this is running long, but these are the last 8 records that are new to me. I didn't have these in record form. I did have most of them in CD form, but not in record form, and I was excited to find these. But first off, and again, we're going from oldest to newest with this stack. 1972, this was released, and this is the OJs, and it's their greatest hits. It's got a remainder cut here, but it's in pretty good shape. I got this again like for $1. The record, it looks like it's never been played. If you know anything about the OJs, really big. The OJs were like the most favorite band of Hall & Oates. Daryl Hall talks about being a kid growing up in Philadelphia and just loving the OJs. If you've ever seen live at Daryl's place, please check it out. If you've never seen it, it's great. He has bands on. They play in his barn. They have dinner together, break bread, and he interviews them, but he plays some of their songs. They sing some of his songs, and it's just great. The one with the OJs is fantastic. I got the OJs greatest hits. This was released in 1972. Can't wait to spin that one. Next, staying with this, another 1972 release, and this is Close to the Edge by Yes. Yeah, probably for true Yes fans, probably like this one better than 90125. But this was released in 1972. This was the 5th of 23 studio albums by Yes. And did you know that they just released a new record? We're in 2023. Can you believe this? Mirror to the Sky, they just released. So glad to have this in my library. I have never owned this record before, but I am a Yes fan and happy to add this to my collection. Next, this one I was one of the ones that I was looking for too, to add to my collection, and this is Jethro Tull Stormwatch. So this was released in 1979. It was the 12th studio release of 23. Yes, 23, if you didn't know, this year, 2023. Jethro Tull released another album called Rockflot. I can't say it in the Swedish or, Rockflot. New record is fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's really good. But this is one that I didn't have in my collection. I was looking for was Stormwatch. So I was really excited to get this, and it is in great great condition. Can't wait to get this on the turntable and spin that. New to my collection, Stormwatch by Jethro Tull. This one, I went around and I asked every vendor, I asked, do you have any Madness? Nope. One guy, oh yeah, I've got it. Came out, he even helped me look for it. Couldn't find it. But I finally found, I only found two Madness records, and the first one was total trash. This one isn't great, but this is Madness Complete. So it's a pretty good one to have because it's got 16 of their hits. And House of Fun, The Prince, Baggy Trousers, Madness, the song, Return of the Palmist. Just a lot of, 16 hits. But the cover's not in great shape. It's got a big scratch on it. And the record has some, looks like, I'm hoping it's surface scratches and smudging. This was actually released in 1982, and it's the only one that I found there that was like even worth purchasing out of the two. Hopefully it's going to sound great on the turntable. I don't know. We'll see. But I was really at least happy to find one Madness record out there. Okay, getting down to it. Last, not last, but definitely not least. This is, again, on my top 10, one of my favorite all-time records, most played, everything. I couldn't believe I found this. This is brand new, unopened. It did break my budget of $20 that I was going for, but when I saw it, this is the first time released on vinyl, and it's got also 3 bonus demo tracks. 180 gram vinyl, brand new. Matthew Sweet, Girlfriend. This is another, again, one of my top 10 records of all time. There is no skippable songs on this. Divine Intervention, Girlfriend, I've Been Waiting, Look at the Sun, Winona, Evangeline, Day for Night, Thought I Knew You. I could go on and on. There's 2 records in this set, and if you know anything about Matthew Sweet, when he did Girlfriend, of course, everything. He wrote all the music, he produced all the music, he recorded all the music, he played all the parts. One of the greatest, I think, recorded albums of all time. People are gonna say shit to me about it. That's fine. I love it. I now have it in my library, and I'm very excited about that one. All right, only a couple more left. 2 more left, I think. 3 more left. Only 3 more left. This one, again, I had to have it on vinyl. I haven't ever had it on vinyl before. This is brand new. Broke the budget a little bit. This is Pearl Jam Versus. This was released in 1993. It's the second of their 11 studio albums. That Matthew Sweet one, I forgot to tell you, was 3 of 18. Yeah, he's released 18 studio albums. This is the second one. This for Pearl Jam Versus. What a great record. Again, part of the storybook of my life. Daughter. Right from the top. Go, Animal, Daughter, Glorified G, Dissident's great. Rear View Mirror, Rats. I can't believe again, brand new, still in the shrink wrap. Versus by Pearl Jam. Can't wait to spin that. 2 more left. This one, I'm a fan. I'm just a fan of Panic at the Disco. And I found this one for cheap. Great shape, again, almost brand new. Death of a Bachelor. If you know anything about Panic at the Disco, this was the first of the last 3 released studio albums by Panic at the Disco, but the last 3 actually were solo records. So total, Panic at the Disco has, 7 studio albums, and this would be the 5th, but it was the first of the last 3. Can't wait to spin this. Again, in perfect condition. Now I have all 3 of the last 3, the solo albums on vinyl. That's exciting. And last but not least, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yep. This is Return of the Dream Canteen. I've been wanting this record for a little bit. Came out in 2022. So in 2022, the Red Hot Chili Peppers released 2 records. The other one was Unlimited Love, and it's awesome. I really love that record. A lot of people have put this one down. I haven't listened to it for a reason, because I've been waiting to get this record. Unfortunately, it's freaking expensive. It's like 40 bucks or something to get it. And this is an alternate cover. I hadn't even seen this cover before. This is an alternate cover, and I got it for $20. It was open. It still had the plastic on it, but it had been opened. It's gold. The 2 albums and the 2 records in here are gold, and I looked at them very closely. They look mint. The cover is fantastic. I don't know if somebody bought it, and like I said, some people didn't like it, played it, and just like got rid of it. And I was lucky enough to find it, but I got this for 20 bucks, and I'm thrilled because I'm a huge Chili Peppers fan and can't wait to, well, so this is kind of, they put it in a list as the 13th of 13 studio albums. So they're calling Unlimited Love the 12th release of 13, but they were both released close together in 2022. And I can't wait to spin this because I purposely haven't listened to it. All right, there you go. 28 records that I was able to pick up at the Jacksonville Record and CD Festival. A lot of them I've got to go through and clean, put in some new covers, and spin them. I did what I aimed to do. I wanted to spend less than $20 a record. 2 records, I did spend more than $20, but my average was exactly at $11 a record. So $28 records, $11 a record, and they're all great except maybe 2. We'll see. All right, guys, I'm sorry if that took so long, and it's a little bit, departure from my normal booktube channel, but I do love my vinyl. Anyways, if you found any entertaining value in this video, please like, subscribe, and as usual, leave me tons of amazing comments. Until next time, peace out.